Well, hey. It's happy Sunday, and I'm to you now.
And I am Dr. Michael Gross. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for giving up your time and spending some time with us. We really, really appreciate it. And we hope as we're talking and as my sister and I share so much information, you appreciate what we have to say. So, with that in mind, I want to,
He always does that.
and this is called Healing the Hole in Your Souls. And this is so important by T.U. Knapp, who this beautiful woman that's sitting alongside of me. And this book is all about her journey to freedom. It's all about finding herself, her self worth, self love, self esteem. It's inspirational, it has a lot of guidance, and it was the inspiration for one of the segments of my International Institute of Self Empowerment, 5013C. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to you for writing this book because it's going to change a lot of people's lives.
Well, thank you, Michael. And he beat me, okay? Michael is the author of the Spiritual Primer. We do this every Sunday. We talk about our books only for a minute, but we want everyone to know that this book and this wonderful man over here that I'm pointing to, stick your face out, is the reason why that book was written. Yeah, had it not been for Michael giving me a little bit of nudging from time to time, I wouldn't be sharing my story. But on that note, I don't know about you, but this is getting a little bit heavy, don't you think?
Yeah, I put away my pointed toe shoes to give her the nudging, so it's cool.
But this book is a powerful place to start, okay? If you're missing anything in your life, if you're feeling like you're in a funk, maybe you've got something, you just feel like, what? Something, you're living in any kind of mediocrity. I highly recommend you read this because there are so many golden nuggets tucked within the pages. And on that note, I'm putting my book, this one, down for now. But I highly recommend everybody read chapter 3. But don't read it until after 1 and 2. But make sure you're ready for this one because I found a whole lot of really, really valuable nuggets in number 3. So on that note, Michael and I come together every Sunday at 2:00, and we appreciate everybody being here. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and properly introduce you because we don't script anything but this little piece. Okay.
All right.
And this little piece is only scripted because otherwise I get sidetracked and I could be giving him accolades for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, then it costs me more money for her to do it, but
No, I do it happily.
I know you do.
And what is it? Free gratis, or how do you say that?
Gratis?
I say it,
Gratis.
I give him accolades because he's really changed my life. And on that note, let's go ahead and get going. Dr. Michael Gross is an author, professional keynote speaker, transformational coach, and an entrepreneur. For more than 3 decades, he has been on a spiritual path as an intuitive, a healer, a spiritual counselor, and a teacher. Through the guidance of spirit, Michael has assisted others in their personal quest for self-empowerment, helping them to create the lives that they have long sought and to bring forth their intuitive abilities. Michael currently teaches classes in spirituality, self-empowerment, Reiki, and other modalities.
Yes.
Lots of other goodnesses. I don't know. Anyway, we love getting together to share these wonderful golden nuggets with you. So I'm going to continue, okay? In concert with God, the true source, he has also achieved great success and miraculous healings. He remains humble, knowing the work that he does all comes from God, the true source. Michael lives in Lakewood, Washington, and has just launched, and he gave you a little peek, his brand new nonprofit,
the International Institute of Self-Empowerment. We're really excited about that, and we're getting ready to launch a huge fundraising program so we can help abused women, children, and men. And that's only one facet of it. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to thank all of you for joining us. And I was thinking, what should I speak about? Because nothing, as you said, is scripted. And I never know until the last moment. And what I was told to talk about was the fork in the road. It's such a wonderful thought about the fork in the road. And if we look at the fork in the road, do we go left? Do we go right? Do we go forward? Or do we go backwards? In looking at our lives, and looking at my life and those that I work with so many beautiful people, we come to many forks in the road. And it's always a time we need to make decisions. And that is so hard sometimes because we make these decisions either based on knowledge, critical thinking, or we listen to the thoughts of the soul. Or sometimes it's a combination of all those things. So first of all, I'd like everyone to understand that we have cycles in our life. Some are 3 year cycles, they're minor. Then we have major cycles at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 and 12 year cycles. That means we make major changes within our lives. And of course, I'm calling that part of the fork in the road. Which way do I go? And we look at our career and our lives. And if we look at our career and our lives, many times we try something new. Sometimes we end up with egg on our face. Sometimes it ends up being very, very successful. But I'd like you to all look at something and let's look at having egg on your face, which means you tried something and it didn't work, or it was very arduous, or it failed, or whatever. I want you to look at that as success because you learned what worked and didn't work. That's so important because when you're trying something new, you don't know what happens. And you're learning something new. And that doesn't mean that it was a failure. Maybe 10 years, 5 years from now, what you've learned, you now apply to your life to make yourself more successful. Or perhaps you let your ego get in the way. Remember, EGO, edging God out, and you overstep your boundaries, but you learn something new. Therefore, what I want to talk to you all about is when you come to this fork in the road, it means you have to make a decision. Now, sometimes you can make a decision which is a circuitous route. Instead of going, let's say, from New York City to Seattle in a straight line, maybe you go from New York City to Detroit, Michigan, to Miami, Florida, all the way over to Sandusky, Ohio, then down to Texas, and then back to New York. And then eventually, you may go up North Carolina, then over to North Dakota, South Dakota, down to Oregon, over to Idaho, and end up in Washington.
That's a really long trip.
It's a really long trip.
Oh my gosh.
So, we talk about the shortest distance between 2 points of the straight line. And that's so important because part of coming to the fork in the road means you have to make a decision to change. And that can be very life threatening because we get in a comfortable little area in our lives. And that area we're comfortable with is we know what the outcome's going to be. And then all of a sudden, something comes up and challenges your life. Well, an example of this could be going to your favorite Italian restaurant. And I like Italian food, or maybe Mexican, whatever you wish. And let's go, you're going to your favorite restaurant and you know exactly what you're going to get. You know exactly what it's going to taste like. And you know you're going to exactly be happy. Now all of a sudden says, well, let's try this new Italian restaurant. Well, what is the ratings? Oh, I don't know. I heard it's really good for my friends. Well, what kind of food they serve, and all these doubts. You are already building up a block. Now, whether you realize it or not, but subconsciously and psychically, because you're doubting, you're throwing a monkey wrench into it. In other words, what you're doing is preparing yourself that this restaurant or this food is not good enough and it doesn't compare to your favorite. Maybe that's true, but you've already predestined what's going to happen. That is what I would like to talk to you about the fork in the road. It is a leap of faith. In other words, going into the unknown and just knowing that the possibilities are unlimited. It could be very, very good. And so you try this new restaurant and you try it and you're expecting the same taste as you had before and the same type of sauce or pasta or whatever you're eating. And that is a major mistake. Expectations. You know how I've said, no expectations, no attachments. Look at everything you do as a new adventure and look at it with the eyes of a child. It's exciting. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to learn something new. Yes, I can't wait to do this. And then you learn something new. Maybe, maybe that Italian restaurant or whatever you're doing, whether it's a job or buying a new vehicle or traveling or vacation, maybe it's exciting. Maybe it's different and positive in a different way. Or maybe it hasn't worked out. You don't know that. But do not predetermine what the outcome is going to be. Because once you do that, you have created it. Remember, what you think what you create, you experience. And that is so important in your life. You know, there's a quote that I've used in my book and on my Facebook, and do the shadows of the past chain you to the fear of your past. And if you understand that, stop living in the past. You heard the inflection of my voice. And, you know, the true source told me the past predicts the present predicts the future. You want to live in the past? Bless your heart, because that will be in the present and in the future. You've already predestined the outcome.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
I don't know how long Michael kept telling me, let go of the past, don't live in the past. And I visualized I was standing in a hallway, holding on to the door to the past, remembering all the good, bad, and indifferent things that happened, with one hand on the door to the future. But, you know, there's a level of, I guess I'd say, you have to let go of the past so that you can actually get a good hold of the doorknob to the future. But along the way, what happens, we become apprehensive. We get scared. We're stuck in the hallway. And we're like, I don't know. It's like, do we go into that restaurant or not? Right?
Right.
Because we have preconceived ideas. And, you know, he worked really, really hard to help me let go of the past. And trust me, it wasn't easy, because some of that stuff I didn't want to let go. And don't surround yourself with everything that keeps you in the past. Move forward, right? And find the courage to open that gosh darn door, because you'll be amazed what's on the other side.
You're absolutely right.
Just thought I'd add that.
Well, you'd add very important. Thank you for adding that. You know, part of my motto is if you don't know where you're going, you can't get lost. And everybody chuckles. And I do that intentionally, but I will tell you, I really believe in that. Because the present is exciting and it's a new experience. And you don't want to predetermine what that experience is, because you'll be disappointed. You know, there's an old story in that if a person sets their goal to make $100,000 for the year, and they make $98,999, they go, I failed. So they $1,001 off. They failed. Now you and I would look at that, what? Whoa, $98,999. That's pretty gosh darn good. You made a lot of money. Your goal was 100,000. But you see, no expectations, no attachments. You expected to make 100,000 that year, or whatever the number is. And if you didn't, you subconsciously are saying you failed. And then as you fail, you lose confidence. As you lose confidence, you come to that fork in the road. Where do I go? What decision do I make? And is it the right one? Is that the right one? Is it going to work? It isn't going to work. And that is the fork in the road for all of us. Understanding that, you know, when they made fun of the Wright brothers about an airplane, they laughed at him, but he made an airplane. And then we turned around and we looked at Thomas Edison. I've used this before, somewhere around 1,013 times till he discovered the electric light bulb. And his friend said, you failed 1,012 times, or whatever the number was. And he said, no, I learned what worked and didn't work. And then the other favorite quote I like is from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can do a thing or whether you think you can't do a thing, you're right. You see, the fork in the road is telling you that you have to make a decision. Every decision is positive, except the decision to retreat. Because when you retreat, you're at a comfort level. You're at a comfort level. You're looking around all the ways and afraid to move forward. And what happens is something in your life will occur that you have no choice but to move forward. All of us have experienced that in one way or another. And part of that can be, hate to say this, part of that could be an illness or some injury because we have to move forward. You can never stop at the fork in the road forever or retreat because your soul urge is not going to let you do that. You can retreat, you can hide under the covers, you can do whatever you want. But there comes a day of reckoning, and that's when your soul said, all right, enough already. Let's go. Come on, get out there. Take that leap of faith. No, 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 no. And then certain things occur in your life, and you have to do it reluctantly. But you know what happens? You look back later and go, well, it wasn't so bad. I don't know why I waited so long. I should have done this a lot earlier. You know, the shoulda, woulda, coulda. How about ignoring shoulda, woulda, coulda? How about just getting out there? And this is the next question. How do I know I'm making the right decision? Obviously, when you take the leap of faith, you have belief it's going to work out. Sometimes taking the leap of faith will get you from point A to point B to point C. In other words, the various experiences will get you there. So I was an entrepreneur, had businesses. But before that, I was in marketing sales. I was an entrepreneur. And after that, I ended up teaching college. And after that, I became a coach. One became the other, became the other, became the other. What has coaching got to do with marketing and sales? I'm talking about the essence of it. What is having an entrepreneur, being in, marketing, sales? No, it's different. You're following your faith and belief. But does it prepare you to teach college? Yes, it did. All those things I did in my life, and so many, many, many more. Talk about traveling to foreign countries. I learned so much. Now I put into practice everything that I've experienced into coaching. And that's what we need to understand. Every experience you have is preparing you for the next step. And we have to, as individuals, take that leap of faith because we're at that fork in the road. So if you are a mechanical engineer and all you do is design 3 different parts every day, what have you learned? Not much. You know how to do it, great expertise. Where's the challenge in life? Because you see, through these challenges, we create new items, new things, new thinking. There's the old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And that's so important because as human beings, we have to be pushed to a certain level. We either fight or flight or freeze. You've heard that again, fight or flight or freeze. In this case, how about instead of fight or freeze, start walking forward at your own pace. And as you do that, new creativity and new thoughts will come into your mind. Where does that come from? From your soul. Because your soul already knows what you have pre-planned before you incarnated. And that pre-planning is to empower you, to leave a legacy behind you, and help you to change the consciousness on this planet. How are we doing in time?
We've got time. Can I throw in something here?
Sure.
One of the things that comes into my mind is when we retreat, we live a life, and at the end of life, we look back with regret that we retreated because we never know what we missed. And remember that because we don't have any guarantee on how long any one of us is going to be here. So if you're not grabbing every opportunity to learn and grow, You don't know what you're missing, but in the end, you've also you're sitting there cowering and wondering, well, what if I would have, right? But when you go forward, then you know what you're, and maybe it's not always a great lesson. We're all gonna make mistakes, but it's okay because that's how we learn and we grow.
Exactly.
And we live without the regrets because at least we gave it a try.
Exactly. Good point. Thank you for bringing that out.
You're welcome.
There's only one direction in life, and that's forward. And going forward in life, you can go at a snail's pace, or you could go at the walking pace, or running, or even the speed of light. Where do you want to go, and how do you want to achieve it? There's a lot to be said in doing it at the speed of light, but there's a lot to be said at a slow pace because you'll learn a lot. My whole life, one of my mottos is don't tell me what I'm doing right because I know what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I need to learn because that empowers me. But yet, if you did that to many souls, they'd get upset, they'd be offended, they think you're insulting them. It's all about the ego. How are you going to learn unless someone shares their knowledge? Or you can go to the school of hard knocks
I've
and,
been there.
well, me too. And you
I
can
got
learn
me
that
a,
way.
I've got me a degree from that school.
So we look at all the people, and look at my two beautiful children. One you could explain to, and the other one had to run into brick walls. But either way, they learned it. Do I criticize them? No. That's the way they chose to learn it. I don't have to agree with the way they learned it. But here's the secret. We have to honor whatever way our friends, family, relatives, even our children chose to learn their path. Even though we may look at it as foolish, stupid, or arduous, it's what they have chosen to empower themselves. Therefore, we need to be very patient. So here you are at that fork in the road, and every 7 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever your cycle is, you come to it and you make another decision. Most persons will choose the safety way, and that's okay, but they don't grow. They just remain in a narrow pocket because it feels comfortable. In order for you to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, it is called choosing that course, that direction that is more challenging because then you become more creative and you gain more knowledge. I remember there was a case given to me by the Supreme Court of Washington, and I happened to talk to the attorney involved, and she said, Michael, this is a very difficult case, but you're going to learn a lot. She was right. My first case, and I learned a lot. There were times that I drank a lot of wine and brie, wanted to bury my head under the covers, so to speak. I'm joshing here, but it was very trying. But the knowledge I got was incredible. It put me 10 years ahead of everyone else because of that experience. And along the way, more and more people came into my life, and I learned more and more, and I watched and I observed. That's part of being in the fork of the road. Stop blowing your horn. Stop saying you know everything and sit back and listen and observe because that's so important. Listen and observe. When I had some of my businesses, one of them said, "You're doing this wrong and that wrong, and you should be doing this and this." And I said, "Oh, thank you very, very much. There's a great location, tons of people going by there, and all you have to risk is several $100,000. And I'll, be glad to show you how to set up." "Oh, I can't do that." They went and they walked away.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but when you're risking, when you're an entrepreneur, you risk the money because you believe in yourself. You believe in your dream. And that dream is what makes you who you are. And that dream helps you to become who you are and to learn what works and doesn't work in your life. But you never know. It could go from one step to another step to another step. That's part of living in life, as you pointed out to you. When you're sitting there and you're retired and things slow down in your life, you think of, I should have, would have, could have. Forget should have, would have, could have. Do it now. And ask when you do it for your soul's urge to have a positive sign, whether it's going to work or not. Not the ego, but whether it's going to work. And then if it's not going to work, then ask for a sign it isn't. Excuse me for a moment. But I wanted to share one other thing with all of you. And I had a student many years ago, and she said, I wanted to start a business called Talking Books. I said, that's great. And she said to me, well, my husband wants to spend the money on a new boat. I said, well, what do you want to do? I want Talking Books. Then go for it. Do you have a boat? Yeah, he wants a bigger boat. I said, well, okay. So she went to advisors, and I was one of them. And so she went to some intuitive advisors. And she came back after a couple of weeks, and she said she talked to 12 intuitive advisors, and only one got it right. You got it wrong, Michael. 11 said, go in that business, it'll be very successful. But the 12th one said, no, it won't be. So they're right. So my husband can buy his boat. And I said to her, 11 out of 12, that's pretty good odds. But more importantly, you wanted to manifest it would fail because you were afraid of letting your husband down, or you're afraid of if you started the business and it failed, your husband would never stop telling you that you failed. Of course, you didn't want to hear that. But that's the truth. You see, at that fork in the road, our belief system creates our future. And that belief system is what we have to live by each and every moment. If something fails in your life, it's because your belief system is wonky. You doubt it. Remember, what you think you create, what you create you experience. Think about that. And if you remember that in everything you do when you come to that fork in the road, and you will get positive signs, and things will work out really well. And if you don't get a positive sign, it won't. But how do you get a positive sign? Before you go to sleep, ask the true source for a positive sign, whether this will work or not. And ask, when the time is right, I'll get my answer. And I will tell you, 99.9999% of the time, pretty close to 100, you get the answer right away, but the ego is in the way.
That can be such your ego can muddle up your mind.
Yes, it does.
And sometimes it's so sneaky. It's this little quiet voice that says, but why, or but this, or but that. And the next thing you know, you're second guessing your own decision. And then you're too caught up in the confusion that you don't do anything. You're stuck
Exactly.
back in the hallway holding two doorknobs.
Well put. And the other thing is, when you ask your family and friends, they don't know anything about what you're doing. Very rarely. And I was one business I was opening up, and I went to a restaurateur who's been there 30 years in this area. And I talked to him, oh, it's going to fail, it's not going to work. And that's what he would say. I went, okay. So then I asked for a sign, and everything came forth. This particular area that I opened the store, it had 7 million people go through. They never expected it in a year.
Wow.
Obviously, the traffic was phenomenal and the business was phenomenal. And he came back and he said one day, gee, I never expected that. I said, well, that's okay. Thank you for your advice. And his business began to explode. But you see, he was 65 years old. He wanted everything to be safe and was afraid to venture out. And by osmosis, by mistake, because he's right next door to this area, his business began to grow. In fact, his problem was he couldn't handle it. And at times we'd have long lines. But what I want you all to understand is at the fork in the road, the major decision is yours. Ask for true inner source guidance. Don't be blindsided by what others have to say. True, you can talk to experts. But if you talk about having an airplane, or if you talk about having a rocket ship, or a cell phone, or a computer, they were visionaries. And they thought, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to make it work. And when we look at Bill Gates with the computer, and then we look at Apple, and there were times that Steve Jobs was successful. Then he backed away and the company began to fail. And he came back to it and brought it back up to what it is. By the way, Apple has more cash in the bank than the U.S. government. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Wow.
So I want to thank you all for paying attention and listening to us. Think about what I said. Apply it to your life. And if you have any questions or comments, please list them below. And remember that you are unlimited and you are the soul, S-O-U-L, and S-O-L-E, creator of your life. Have we run out of time?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we should wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's go ahead, and I will make sure that all of the information we're about to share goes in the comments as well. But I know that Michael does a Tuesday night call-in every Tuesday night at 6:30. Why don't you share a tiny bit with that?
Yes. It's 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it goes roughly 7:30, quarter of 8. Depends upon the questions. You can ask any questions based on the spiritual nature, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them. And then I deliver a 10-minute, sometimes 12-minute message. And I believe there are 214 messages. Pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
And it's motivational, it's empowering. So I would ask all of you, if you have the opportunity, come on down. Listen to the questions. Be the observer. Ask a question. And if I can help you, I hope I can. And one other thing I would like to add, and that is the telephone number. She's pointing. Don't forget, Michael. Don't forget
the numbers. And you can dial in and listen, and you can be the fly on the wall. If you don't want to ask a question, it's okay. You can sit and listen anyway. So the number there is for the Tuesday night call-in. It's 202-926-1059, and the access code
is 125446 pound.
He loves doing that.
I love it.
Okay, one more time. That number is 202-926-1059.
And the access code is 125446 pound.
I honestly think he practices in front of the mirror.
I have a lot of fun.
Okay. He also mentioned the recording, which is always going to be up there 24/7, okay? And that number is 434-300-4170. And Michael, access code?
125446 pound.
Okay, one more time on that number as well. Okay, 434-300-4170, and
the access code is 125446 pound.
Oh no! Okay, and would you like to also tell them about what happens on Saturdays?
Yes, the second Saturday of every month, we do a mass consciousness healing for everything on this planet. Animal, mineral, vegetable, humans. It's so important. One of my pet goals is to have everyone participate in the mass consciousness healing. So it begins at 9:55 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We talk a little bit, and somewhere around 10:02, 10:03 till about 11:01, we are in silence. Then I come back and talk for 2 or 3 minutes, and we're done. The feedback that I've got has been phenomenal. It's been incredible. I encourage all of you to be part of this because you are the solution and you can make a difference. And my personal goal is to get 1% of the population to awaken, and I will achieve it. How I'm going to do it? Don't know. I just know it will work. That's part of coming to the fork in your road and having faith and belief that it'll work. So I encourage all of you. And the telephone number is?
Before I give the telephone number,
Yes.
I just want to say that is an amazing experience when so many souls come together and meditate in harmony with one another. It's phenomenal what happens, and you don't even realize the energy that we bring to the planet. So definitely you want to dial in second Saturday of the month, and that number is 202-926-1059.
And the access code is 125-446 pound. It's the same number as the call-in on Tuesday evenings. So thank you, everyone. And I just want to take a moment, along with Tiu. Remember, she's my fraternal twin from a past life, and recommend you obtaining her book, Healing the Holes in Your Soul, Your Path to Freedom, because this is the book that's going to change your life.
But start here. This is Dr. Michael Gross's book, and he wrote the foreword in that book. And I share some of his wisdom in that book. But start with this one. Only
Thank you.
because he's amazing, and you have no idea what you're missing if you don't open the book.
Thank you. And I want to notify everyone that I've done an edition. It's at the editors. Then it's going to go to the book designers to place it in this current book, and then to the printer. So I'm hoping in 4 to 6 weeks from now, I'll have the book or earlier. And then I'm going to be writing a new one that's going to be empowering for you. But that's a teaser. So we'll talk about that later.
Oh no, we're not going to be able to. We're not going to be able to tease them too much because then I'm going to have to start telling them what I'm up to.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, you have to come back on another Sunday. I'm not kidding.
Tune in next week like the old serials.
Okay, on that note, folks, it's been really, really great chatting with everybody. Okay, you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate your participation. Please share this call-in, this podcast, whatever you wish to call it,
Facebook
our message.
Live.
Pardon me?
It's a Facebook Live and it's a
Facebook
YouTube,
Live.
but you know what? Just come back here next Sunday.
Absolutely. And yes, it is on Facebook and it's on YouTube. So everyone, have a great week. Stay well, stay healthy, and you are unlimited. Take care, everyone.
Namaste.
We love you.
We really are twins.